Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vally of Shadows Paranormal Podcast. On this channel, we'll be discussing everything paranormal, cryptid, aliens, whatever it may be that is just not of this world, otherworldly. We will be discussing and going over a few stories here and there. I myself will be retelling stories, or like in this case today, we will have a special guest and she will be telling her own experiences. My special guest today is Kat, a good friend of mine I've known for a good while. Her herself is very in tune with the paranormal world. You'll hear firsthand in this video of all the experiences she has, experienced. And I guess let's get right into it.
With her over there gaming.
Yeah, we got Eric over there gaming on the bed.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what happened at Zach's house when we stayed there. Right. So, Eric, he was working, right? So, it's the first night, and the spare room that they have is now Zach's office, right? But before it was like a spare bedroom. So, we're staying in there, and Max and Candy, their dogs, they were sleeping with me. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, they both start growling, right? And, well, I'm not used to them doing that. And I had already told Zach previously how he had a ghost at his house, a female that looked like she was from like the 70s, 80s type.
What?
Dressed, yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah, I saw her. She even had like 3 scratches on her face. They usually come to you and looking like how they looked when they died is the thing. So, but she was like a nice ghost, you know what I mean? Like protective over him and his mom. So when they were growling and stuff, I was like, okay, well, they don't do that with that ghost. You know what I mean? So I was like, something else is here.
Oh, so it's something else.
So I thought maybe Eric had come home or Steve was wandering around the property because Zach had already told us, like, hey, he'll probably be outside every now and then, like, because we're gone. But don't worry about him, right? But they don't normally growl at him. So I was like, okay, it can't be that. And then I felt like this intense urge to turn around because I was facing the other side of the wall. And I was away, like, facing my back towards the door. But I felt this intense urge to turn towards the door. So I do. And there's this, like, tall-ass freaking shadow of, like, a man. And I just felt, like, terror. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt bad.
Just totally negative.
Yeah. So I was just like, whatever you are, whoever you are, like, you're not welcomed here, right? So you need to leave. And it just, like, laughed at me and then just evaporated. And when it was gone, that's when Candy and Max like settled down, and they were protective over me. Like, Max was at my feet, Candy was over here. Like, they didn't want to leave me all night, like, at all. And then Eric got home, and when he got home, that's when they left me. They were just like, okay, you're safe now. It was really weird. And I think it actually ran off the other ghosts, because after that, like, I never felt her, saw her, nothing.
Like, ever again?
Ever again. So I don't know if it, like, took her away or, tried to take her place there. But after that, I never felt that ghost there again either. The bad one.
Whatever it is. Some type of entity. I mean, as like a little backstory, like, you have these kind of, like, experiences all the time. Like, she's known to have, like, these things going all the time, and she's always, like, fighting them off herself.
Yeah.
Like that one story you were telling me.
With the mimic?
The mimic, yeah.
Yeah, that shit was scary.
And you said the same thing, you're not welcome here, leave, and it
laughed. And it leaves, yeah. You have to tell them, like, laugh? You're not welcome here. You know what I mean? And if it's a bad one, like, it'll laugh at you, but it will leave because you're telling it that they're not welcome there, that they need to leave. So because you say that, they leave. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
If you don't tell them to leave or tell them that they're not welcome there or whatever, they'll linger. Like, they'll stay. They'll keep messing with you. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't know, like, hey, if you say it this way, these words, then naturally they have to leave because, like, God or the universe or whatever is not letting them stay there.
It's like
you know what I mean?
I've heard it's like the spiritual law.
Yeah.
Like, demons and everything are held to this, like...
Yeah, it's kind of
like... You have to be welcomed, and if you're not, you have to go.
Yeah.
In some occasions. Depends how crazy it is.
Yeah, it depends on, like, how strong they are, too. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Or how, like, deep in it is, like, they're into you, or, like, already in your house.
And, well, because, like, how I can see them, feel them, like, I can feel, like, how they died, or feel what they're trying to say, like come across and stuff. Like it's more intense for me than it would be like a normal person. You know what I mean? Like y'all will get like chills or feel like someone's watching you or whatever, right? But you won't see it or hear it or whatever.
Like you just won't even notice.
You know what I mean? Like like it'll just feel like, oh, it's just chilly or whatever.
But you have.
But me, like all I have to do is turn around and I can like see it or feel it or whatever. Yeah, it is creepy.
So like
it's been happening to me since I was like 6.
Okay, so let's go back in time. So when did all this like start happening? You started noticing.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw anything was when I was 6. We were at my grandma's house. She passed away in 2017, right? But at her house, it was like a army camp for soldiers and stuff.
Where was this at?
It's in Mission.
Oh, here.
But it was like a base camp for like training and stuff. But some soldiers would go there that were injured and. If they would die or not die or whatever, but if they died, like, their spirits were there.
Like a pharmacy, you said?
Yeah, kind of like a hospital.
Hospital.
Yeah. So when I was 6, I was in my grandma's kitchen, and I heard hooves, like a horse. Hooves? Yeah, like the galloping.
In the kitchen?
Yeah. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, well, I know my grandpa doesn't have his horse no more because he did have one when I was little. And I'm like, okay, it's not that, but, I was 6. I didn't really understand what was happening at first. And then I saw a man pass by her kitchen window dressed in, like, army clothes. So I was like, what the heck? So I went outside, and I didn't see anything. And from my family on my mom's side, the only person that was able to see and feel things the way I do was my grandma. So she was seeing what I was seeing, and I guess she noticed that I was reacting to it like she was.
Too, like, hey, you
so
see
she
that
sat
thing?
me down and told me like, hey, don't worry, like he won't hurt you, like this and that, like you're one of the only people in our family like me who can feel and see them and stuff. And while I was 6, I was just like, okay, grandma's crazy, like, you know what I mean? But as I got older, like I started seeing more and more, and that's when I was finding, like, okay, this is real. Like, I'm really seeing this. I'm really hearing this, It was really weird, but that's what I first saw. That was my first early memory of, like, seeing stuff and hearing it. And what the soldier said was...
oh, he talked to you?
Yeah, he was like, hurry, please, he's bleeding.
Oh.
So that's why I went outside, because I was like, who are they talking about? I thought maybe it was my grandpa or something. I go outside and there was nobody outside, like at all.
Because there's nothing there.
So, yeah. So that's why I was like, okay, it scared me,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first
first encounter.
Ever. It was crazy.
So everyone, this is the Valley of Shadows Paranormal Podcast. I'm here with my guest, my good friend Kat. You don't have to say your last name or anything. You don't want people looking you up or anything. And so, this is her. Hi.
Hello.
And her husband Eric, good friend of mine. He's here too, but he's playing video games.
Nerd.
He likes tech. So I guess, what would be like your second encounter, or if you can remember?
I think I was like 8, and it was at her house again. It's because at her house there was a main house, and then there was a smaller house in the back, which was their very first home. So it was like a 1 bedroom, 1 little itty bitty kitchen and all that, So when I was 8, 9-ish years old, somewhere around there, we ended up moving in with them, so we were living in the little house.
That must have been tight.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's me, my brother, 2 sisters, and my mom. Yeah, Yikes. It was really tight. We had 2 beds. That's all we had at the time.
You sleep on the floor. You sleep on the roof.
One's on the floor over there, curled up in front of the door.
Taped to the wall.
Yeah, so that house, I mean, it was really, really old. And it had these weird windows that were that big, like the one you have here. But it had this wooden frame that would open outward like this. So you would hold up with a bar.
Like a stick, yeah.
Yeah. So my mom, that little house didn't have AC. It just had 1 ceiling fan. So my mom would leave it open at night, but it had a screen,
That's scary though.
So I'm sleeping, and I hear knocking. I just hear doof, doof, doof. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I blew it off, right? Trying to go back to sleep again, and I heard it a second time. Doom, doom, doom.
But only you heard it.
Yeah, just me. No one else woke up.
You're
no
like,
fidgeting, no
anybody
nothing.
else hear that?
Yeah. So I was sitting up in bed next to my little baby sister. And on the other side was my older sister. And I'm looking at them like, these freaking chicks are just knocked out. Like, they don't hear what I'm hearing. So I was like, okay, whatever, right? So I curled up next to my little sister. I believe at the time she was 4.5. Yeah, she wasn't 5 yet. So I curled up next to her because at night she would have like night terrors. And she looked like she was going to start to fidget. So I'm holding on to her, right? And I hear boom, 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 even louder. And I was just like, okay, this is real. Like, this is happening. And I felt an intense urge to just turn around. And at the time, like that, how I said, that window was huge. So it was my bed with my sisters and then my mom's bed with my brother. And there was like maybe a 2-inch gap between the beds and the window. So some of our heads were at the window, you know? So I turn around and there's this old lady like dressed in white, just like staring me dead in the face. And I just felt my whole body go cold. Like, it felt unnatural. Like, it didn't feel like a ghost, but it didn't feel like a demon either. Like, it was someone that was like stuck in the middle, like in limbo maybe. So I just felt really cold, and the lady, her skin was like pale, like so pale. And that was my first time ever feeling how one of them died. So I'm assuming either she drowned or froze to death, because I was just like cold, like cold. It felt really terrible.
Like, you remember what she was wearing or anything?
Yeah, she was wearing like kind of like a wedding dress type dress.
That's what I was thinking.
Like, she had a veil and everything. And her skin was like pale, but her lips were like bluish purple. Which is why I assume either she like froze or she had an accident. Because where my grandma's house is at, it used to be like this big river. And then it was her house. There was no other houses around. It was just them. Until, you know, the city started building and stuff. So all that got covered up with the road and dirt and, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming, like, you know, she probably was a runaway bride or something, and she fell in the creek or whatever and drowned or froze. I don't know. It could have been like winter time or whatever, but that was like the first time I ever actually felt like what they felt. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. And I was like, she didn't feel like she wanted to do me any harm either. I just felt that intense, like what she was feeling. So I was just like, oh my God.
On top of like being freaked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was like barely 9, I think, or
like,
8.
I don't want to be here right now.
So, and that was also the first time I actually like spoke back to one also.
You talked to her?
Yeah.
Or
like, I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry for what happened to you. Like, I could feel that what happened was scary for you. And I'm like, but can you please leave? Like, I don't know what I have to say to you or like how to help you. And she like reached out and touched the window, like the screen. And I actually like was gonna do it too. Like, why? But I was doing it slowly. I don't know. Like, I felt like I had to.
Yes, no. Yes,
you know what I mean? So I was like reaching out slowly, and she just disappeared before I got to like touch.
It usually happens, like before some kind of interaction.
But I feel like that's what she needed, like for someone to acknowledge that it happened. You
like,
know
I
what
wonder how that works. Like, like, I don't know.
I don't know if they move on or they just get some kind of peace or something.
No.
I mean, it's crazy. That's why when that show came out, that whole Ghost Whisperer shit, I was like, I want to see that. I want to see their interpretation of what that's like.
Which one?
Yeah,
what was that one?
I think it has Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. She can see ghosts and she helps them move on and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know.
So when that show came out, I was like, I wonder what the media like plays it off as.
I mean, you know, that's Hollywood. They always make everything harder than what it is.
I mean, they had to get it from somewhere. Like, someone has had to been like, hey, this happened.
At least we'd hope there's research to get some accurate, like, stories.
Yeah. No, but it was like
Hollywood it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's intense, though, like, when it first happens, because you don't really understand, like, how to deal with it. You know what I mean?
So what would you say, how do you deal with it now?
Now, it's like, if I feel like if they're too strong and, like, have, like, vengeful feelings towards them, I don't ignore it, right? But I just tell them like, hey, like I can't help you if you're gonna play yourself off this way. You know what I mean? Like you can't help somebody or someone's soul if they're just angry. You know what I mean? And I understand if your life got cut short, you know, you'd be mad.
I mean, you just die.
Yeah.
With like no rhyme or reason. It's kind of like, why?
For real.
I was in the middle of something.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I dead now?
No, but most of the time now, like if I feel like they don't want to move on and they're just around because they want to protect somebody, or they just feel like they're not ready to leave, then I'll ignore it, or not really ignore it, but I'll just be like, you know what, okay, like I just won't bother you.
That's what confuses me too. Is because like, well, you know me as a Christian and my faith, my background, and everything I read, and it says like, well, you can't really talk to the dead, and the dead doesn't really stay here.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are these things? Are they people? Are they memories?
What I think it is most of the time it is like memories, like little pieces of time that get left behind.
Because like time is not what we think it is. You know? It's like,
I feel like it's stuff that's playing out, and I'm being able to see it.
I've always thought that as a kid. Like I feel like time kind of, like, how do you say it?
It's
like,
ever moving is what people say. Like it's
they kind of like,
you know,
interact sometimes. Like the past comes back.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like replays out of nowhere. Because I've heard so many ghost stories. Like, I was in the middle of a field, and out of nowhere I hear like a civil war going on. Because like they're like in Gettysburg. And they hear like cannons. It's just like
it's
like the past is replaying itself.
Yeah.
Because like that's the vibe that was just
so most of the time when I like see them and hear them and stuff, like you're right. You know, they do say like, you know, there might not be ghosts, there might be whatever, right?
Like, we don't know what it is.
Yeah, to me, I feel like maybe it's like a little piece of your soul that gets left behind, and it's just replaying the incident, you know what I mean? Until that piece of your soul is at peace, you know what I mean? That's what I feel. Like, maybe that's what that is, you know?
It could be.
Well, that's what my grandma used to always tell me, too. She's like, they're not necessarily ghosts. Mija, because you know she would just talk to me in Spanish.
She kind of gets like, the idea.
She would say like some like little pedazos of what they left behind, and she goes, and it's up to me and you to like let that little piece be free.
Kind of like, hey, like, you're dead, and I acknowledge that, and I'm sorry. You can go on now. You know.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like that lady that I saw felt like. Maybe that was her being like, oh, thank you, like. I just needed someone to tell me like that it was okay. To notice me. Yeah, essentially, yeah. But it's, like I've also had some scary stuff happen where it's like, okay, this is not a ghost, you know, this is not someone's soul. Like this is something that wants to do you harm or just wants to be mischievous. Yeah,
then there's
you
those,
know what I mean?
And it's like, okay, what's
like
that?
There's different ones. There's like the bad ones, you know, that could be like demons or just like a bad person that passed away and their little piece is still here, you know what I mean? But then there's also the ones that are like little kids that just want to have fun, you know, because they died when they were kids.
You know what I noticed?
So they just want to mess with you, you know?
About the kid ones? It's always, I don't know, because I've been watching a lot of videos about Ouija boards, right? And for some reason, every time someone messes with a Ouija board, there's always a demon that's in their house, an entity. But it's always, I've noticed, it's always in a form of a kid, a child, like a toddler. Every time, in every video, there's a little kid peeking out the window. They can see a hand literally coming out like this, and it's a little kid. But they're little kids. I'm like, so the demon attached. Well, it's because like kids are impressionable. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, maybe this demon is like a kid demon.
Could be.
Like, because I say there's a demon that belong, like that's his territory, that's his thing. So when you play with that's the guy that's gonna show up. It comes in a form
of like a child, so that they could.
Because that's him.
Because like us humans, you know, we see little kids as like these innocent little babies. You know what I mean? So he comes in a form of a child to trick you. But essentially,
little did we know, like that. Little does he know, I don't know what it knows. That's actually more scary when you see a kid ghost than like an adult, because it's like there's a tiny demonic human thing in my house, and that's creepy as hell. Especially when they're like crouched in the corner or under your bed. You hear
that's what I was gonna say. Like I've had this time where
that's just
like
worse.
I said, kid ghosts they're mischievous. You know, they like to poke at you and play with you and stuff. And one time when I was usually like all my early stories take place at my grandma's house because I was always there. I was gonna
tell you, like, your grandma's house had a lot going on.
It was like a beacon or something because a lot of stuff would happen there. So one time I'm laying in bed with my aunt because I was staying over the night. And I'm asleep and I feel something pull at my leg, right? And I thought it was her because she would do that to mess with us when we were little. I roll over and she's asleep, so I was like, okay. And then I felt it again, but this time I felt like it was still holding on to me.
Like you had like that grip.
Like I still had the grip on my ankle, and I looked, and I just saw like a little hand out of under the bed, like holding on to me.
Oh man, that's messed up.
And I just got like full body chills, like the hairs on my arms were standing up. Even now that I'm talking about it, like I feel like that feeling again.
I'm trying not to picture it, so
yeah.
I don't want to.
And I just remember saying like, because I remembered my grandma telling me, if you don't want them to mess with you, tell them like, hey, you're not welcome here. I don't want you here. Leave me alone. Please go away. So I said that and it went away. But I think that ghost was there for years because it would happen every time I would stay the night. Every time.
Or now it's gone.
Yeah, now it's gone. It's been gone for a long time. I think around when I was like a teenager, it was the last straw because it started messing with my little sister. And she's not like me or my grandma, so I told it, I'm like, look, I've told you time and time again throughout the years, you're not welcome in this house, you need to leave. So me and my grandma went to this priest at her church, the church she was actually...
Like a Catholic priest?
Uh-huh. And he came and he blessed the house and everything, and after he did that, like, there was never any, like, bad entities or spirits there. It was always usually just the soldiers that died there, or... that lady in white that I had seen, or
so she was still
she would come every now and then, and I think it was just to like check in on me or something.
Hey, how's it going?
Like I would just see her pass by and she would smile instead of looking so sad like she did
so
the time
creepy.
before.
I don't know how you deal with
and
all
then she would just leave. I
would
mean,
you
I've
leave?
had all these years. The first time, I was just like, hi. I was like, bye.
Can you make me a sandwich?
A ghost sandwich?
I wonder what that tastes like. Like nothing.
Air.
Tastes like air.
No, but I told it to just, basically just go away.
Hey,
and
go away, please. You're scary.
Yeah. But a lot of them take place there because I was always there as a kid.
You think maybe that place had made, I don't know, it kind of gave you that ability, made that impression on you and your grandma, or your grandma's been like that since?
My grandma's been like that since she was little, and she grew up in Nuevo León.
That's Mexico?
Uh-huh. So she was from over there, and then she moved over here when she married my grandpa. They both came this way. But yeah, she's been like that all this time.
Did she ever share any stories with you? Did you ask her?
Yeah, she told me once when she was 9 or so that she was in the kitchen with her mom making tamales, Mexico. And so they were making tamales, and apparently my great-grandma also could see that stuff. Oh. But my grandma didn't see nothing till she was 9. I was 6. That's a whole 3 years before. Yeah. So she was 9. She's making the tamales with my great-grandma, and all of a sudden she just heard Maria. And that was her name, but it was also my great-grandma's name. So she thought someone was calling her. But then she's like, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to blow it off. And, my family, they nicknamed her Silvia. So when she heard that, she was like, okay, now someone really is calling me.
Someone really
So she went outside. And she ran up to her aunt, and her aunt's like, no, I wasn't calling you. And she goes, oh, okay. So she turns around and go back into the house, and she sees a lady standing behind my great-grandma.
Nice.
That she's never seen before. And she tells her tia, she's like, hey, who's that with mom? And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, no one's with your mom. And she goes, no, yeah, there's a lady behind mom. You don't see her. And she goes, what? And I don't see nothing, Silvia. And she's like, just go inside and help your mom. So she went back inside, still sees the lady there, but she hears her mom talking to her. They're conversing. They're having a full conversation. And she says, she told me that she told her mom, she's like, hey, mommy, who's this, right? And she goes, what are you talking about, mija? And she goes, esta muchacha, who is she? And she points in the direction of the ghost, right? Or spirit or whatever. And then that's how my great-grandma was like, oh, you can see her too. You know what I mean? And so she explained to my grandma what it was.
She was just talking like nothing.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you can see her too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was just like, oh, like she thought it was gonna skip a generation or something. You know what I mean?
So she had like already been going through it too, and she's already used to them.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And well, out of all my siblings, I'm the only one.
So it doesn't go to everyone.
No.
It got to you.
And like my aunt, my grandma's daughter, her name is Vianney. She's like me, except the thing is like she can't see them or hear them, but she can feel them.
Okay.
Like
Maybe
she can feel
like
that something's there. You know what I mean?
Not the full power like you do, or whatever you want to call it, ability.
Yeah.
She has like a sample size.
Basically, yeah. So she can like feel the feelings,
the
you know, she can feel it, but she can't see them. And maybe once in a while, like she'll hear something and be like, "Oh, okay, that's not someone I know," you know. But yeah, and it's crazy because like there's certain places that you can go to, like here, there I don't feel nothing here, so you know what I mean. Like you're good.
Here, yeah. I mean, what about I know you've told me there's like a woman behind me, and you're not the first one. Either.
Yeah, I know.
Remember
That you told me. Yeah.
When she fainted.
It's because she saw someone following you.
She saw someone behind me too, and it was a female also.
Yeah.
So I'm like, who is this female that's following me?
I don't know. For me,
but you can't see her around me, right?
No, not all the time. I've seen it. Like,
has it been like lately since we've been hanging out? Nothing, right?
Nothing.
Because you don't tell me nothing.
No.
It's only been that one time I went to Zach's house.
That I told you.
And I first met you, I think.
Yeah, it was the first time I met you.
But ever since then, you've never seen anything?
No.
That's weird.
Like, I'll feel her around you sometimes, but I won't see her.
I don't know.
I saw her that one time, and I feel like she was like, crap, you saw me. Like, you know what I mean? So she made herself invisible. Oh, cool. Now I can just, like, feel it. But it's nothing bad.
But she wasn't bad?
No. No, I feel like, I don't know if your mom's had, like, sisters or aunts or someone that passed away that you might have known. But
I had a cousin.
Because it feels like someone that just wants to make sure you're okay. You know what I mean?
I want to know what to call that.
I don't know. It could be.
I don't know what these things are.
It could be a great grandma or like.
I hope
someone
it's not
that,
negative, because like.
No, it's not.
I hear there's this thing called. Recently, I've been like researching, and there's a thing called spiritual spouses.
She's your wife.
And like they get attached to you through dreams. Like you kind of make a covenant.
Have you dreamt of a lady? Like
it's like when you have. I've been dreaming of a girl or a woman since I was a kid, and I've always been.
It could be that.
And there's like, you know, things that go on in these dreams. And then there's just like regular, we're just hanging out. We're just having a good time, like a couple.
Yeah.
But she takes the form of different girls.
Oh.
And one time.
So you think it's like a succubus or something?
That's what I was saying. Like.
No. If it was a succubus.
Because those are bad, though.
They are. But it also depends on what kind they are. There's many kinds.
And they say it affects your relationships. Like you can never have a good relationship because they. Somehow they sabotage it. And to be honest, I haven't been in a real relationship for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is she
doing that?
Is she doing that? Is she like pushing them away?
I don't know. To me, I feel like she's protective over you, but I don't know. Like if you're saying that you're having dreams like that, then it could be that.
Yeah, and it's not all
the time.
But
she doesn't come off as like malicious or nothing. I think what it is maybe she's like, I want him to be with someone that's like me. Maybe.
Well.
You know what I mean?
A ghost?
Not a ghost, but like the
ghost.
Personality they had in life, you know?
But there's always been a woman. I even wrote a poem or a song about her. The woman I see in my dreams.
Yeah.
It's like the woman of my dreams kind of vibe. Like, where are you, woman of my dreams, you know?
Well, I mean, it also could be there's this thing where people say that you'll dream about your soulmate before you ever actually find them. And maybe that's what that is.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Because a lot of the times, like, it could be someone that's, like, out there or whatever. And when they're asleep, they're around you as, like, a spirit or something. You know what I mean?
I used to believe in it, soulmates. Like, you know, hopeless romantic. Oh, my soulmate somewhere. But nowadays, I kind of feel like I don't even think that's a real thing. I think it's just, it kind of just happens, you know? Either you guys make it or you don't. Because you will both want to, or one of you's just in and out, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't
know. I found Eric and I was just like, I'm never going to be with anybody. Is how I always saw it.
I always feel like that, but I never get to marry them. I'm always like, oh, she's awesome. I wish I could be with her like that. You know, I wish we could get to know each other better. And then
They somehow stop talking to you.
They stop talking to me real quick, and then they just go away. I never see them again. And it's just like... Why? Yeah. I was like... And then I started hearing about this spiritual spouse thing and everything. Because they seem very interested at first. Yeah. Not to get in my whole love life or anything, but... When I do date, they seem very interested, like very happy to meet me. And then all
of a sudden it just changes, right? And then
real quick. Yeah. And I'm just like, why? Maybe
that spirit just doesn't think they're good enough for you.
I don't know. I wish they would stop because it's not nice.
Well, I haven't felt it in a good while, so I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe if I decided to just leave you alone.
I hope so.
Well, have you dreamt of that lately?
Like having those kind of dreams? Yeah. I would say like maybe a couple of weeks ago. But nothing happened. But it was more like we were just hanging out.
Like friends.
Yeah. And she took a form of someone.
Maybe it's them like letting go.
I hope so. I had a real intense dream one time. Nothing like sexual, but it was kind of just like I knew I was dreaming, and I knew if I woke up, I was never gonna see her again. Like we weren't gonna be together anymore. And I said that in my dream, like I don't want to wake up, because then you're not gonna be here. Yeah. And I was crying in my dream, like no, I don't want to wake up. I was saying that in my dream, and I woke up and I was like, whoa, great. Yeah. Like, it's like I knew I was dreaming.
Like it felt real, and you
knew it was a dream. And I knew I was dreaming in the dream, and I was just like, what kind of dream was that?
I don't know. I've had dreams like that before too, where it's like, oh, this is nice. Like I just don't want to wake up. You know what I mean? But in my dream, like me and Eric had 2 kids and stuff, and I think that's what it was. Like I just didn't want that to go away, because we can't have any. So, you know what I mean? It's like the part of you that's wishfully wanting that.
That's what I think. Maybe it's like that thing in the back of your head. Like, I want this. Like, Eric is probably just dreaming, like, video games all the time.
Eric has no dreams. He doesn't dream about anything.
No, he does. He has, like, him sitting on the world's giant TV with Sega and Sonic on.
Big old plate of nachos on his side.
All right, Eric?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Just a small little yes. No,
So how far are we in? A good... What is that? 31 minutes?
Yes.
Man, we've been talking about it, and I wanted to do like 20.
It goes on and on. You can always splice it, cut it short, and do a part 2. You know.
Like this little talk here, I'm gonna cut it, edit it.
Yeah.
But I guess just for one more really juicy story, tell the mimic one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So my husband, he works nights.
He's a vampire.
So I'm alone at night if I'm not hanging out with my little sister Amber. So he had just left. I think maybe it was like an hour, maybe 2 hours. So I was like, okay, he's got his wallet, because sometimes he forgets it. But I'm like, okay, he's got everything, his drinks, his food, everything. He shouldn't have to come back, because sometimes he'll come back and be like, oh, I forgot this or I forgot that.
Forgot my nachos.
So we're in the living room area, and we're playing, I believe it was Mario Party, the newest one that came out. And I hear knocking, very faint, 3 knocks. It's always in 3s, which is crazy. So I hear like light knocking, and I tell my little sister, I'm like, hey, did you hear that? And she's like, no, I didn't hear anything. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Unpause the game, keep playing. It's now my turn to like roll my dice and stuff like that and move on the board. And I hear it again, slightly louder, just boom, boom, boom. And that time my little sister was like, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was talking about. If you heard it earlier. She's like, well, I heard it now. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, go to the kitchen and see if Eric's outside, because maybe he forgot something. As she's passing the doorway to go into the hall where the kitchen is at, I hear another set of 3 knocks, but this time it was really loud. Like, sounded like when you hit like a vault, like that big loud
like it
metal.
Shakes the house kind of.
Yeah,
like?
Kind of like vibrating, So I just hear boom, 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 And that's when my little sister, like, she stopped frozen in the hallway.
You heard
like, she was just like, she's like, I heard that really clear this time. And then I heard, babe, open the door.
And it sounded
just like Eric, like just like my husband, So I was like, okay, Amber, go to the window in the kitchen, look outside, see if you see Eric's car. So she goes and looks outside, no cars, the gate's closed. Nothing. So then I hear again, baby, open the door. I forgot something. So, the mimic, he knows Eric enough to, like, pick up that he would forget things,
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, babe, you didn't forget nothing. And I'm like, go to work, and I didn't tell you that part. But it was like...
But you already had a feeling you knew it wasn't...
Yeah, him. Like, I had this intense feeling like, this isn't my husband. This is something else. Like, I had chills all on my body. Like, my hairs were standing up. My little sister was, like, dead scared, Like, even she was, like, not wanting to get any closer to the window, as a matter of fact. Like, she was a good, like, 3 inches away from the window. But it's a really big window, and you can see out into, like, the street and stuff from the kitchen. So she was too scared to even get too close because she felt like something was gonna like jump at her or something.
Oh.
Yeah, that kind of feeling isn't like crazy, I
hate jump scares.
So I was just like standing like maybe the distance of me and you sitting next to each other from the door, and I noticed that the door was unlocked, and mimics or demons or whatever can't enter your home unless you open the door and invite them in. You know what I mean? It's not like vampires where you say, hey, come in. You know what I mean? Like this, all you got to do is open a crack of your door or a window or whatever, and they'll get in.
Yeah, I hear they can get in no matter what.
So I was like, okay, whatever you are, I really don't know what you are, but I feel like you're not like something that's good. You know what I mean? I was like, whatever you are, whoever you are. I go, you are not my husband. You need to leave my home. And when I said that, it laughed, like super evil laugh, like the craziest laugh I've ever heard in my life. And that's that even in the beginning when I would see this stuff, like I could feel those like laughs, those like mischievous, like you caught me.
In the previous
story,
I mean? You heard them, they laughed at you too.
They laughed at me. So, but this was like evil laugh, like super villain, but like times 10,
Damn.
Like it was really crazy that it made my whole body like hot instead of cold. Like I felt like I had a fever. You know what I mean? And my little sister screamed at me. She said, hey, come over here. So I ran to where she was in the kitchen, and we looked out the window together, and you just see this like shadow person like leave our property, go through our fence, and then it went to my uncle's property. And when we were little, we had an uncle, his name was Lupe, who was into black magic and stuff like that.
Oh boy.
So when I saw that it left and it stopped where his house used to be, because it got knocked down when he died. And he died when I was in the 7th grade. So when they knocked down the house, we actually found a lot of stuff like
all that
in the like carved into the cement and stuff like that. Old blood stains, like black paint. And I felt like it was him who was at our house.
Or something he had
Or something that he had, that he had brought, because when he was on his deathbed, he told my grandma that all of us would pay for treating him badly or whatever. And that's that his nieces and nephews, like us kids, we never treated him badly. Like we always treated him with love and respect, and we would tell our parents and our grandma like, hey, y'all need to treat him better because you guys treat him like crap. Like he's your brother, he's your family, like you shouldn't treat each other this way. So I feel like maybe it was something that he summoned, or maybe it was him because he died with such vengeance in his heart, So it like literally stopped where his house used to be, and like it got sucked into the ground. Like we saw it just, you know what I mean?
Just dissipate into the ground.
Yeah. And our dog even wouldn't go anywhere near there when we would walk him over there to like do his business. But one time he was scratching at the cement, and I was like, yeah, there's something down there for him to be doing that.
You probably buried something, and that's why the entity was there.
Yeah, that's what I was telling my dad.
It could possibly still be there until you remove the objects.
Yeah, not gonna touch that. You touch something like that, and you end up like
you gotta
cursed.
like bless it and put a hazmat suit on or something.
Probably, but yeah, like something's there because my dog would like scratch like crazy at the cement.
But you've never experienced that thing ever again?
One other time, and it was also when he was at work. But my dad was at work as well, because when my dad worked at the water plant in La Jolla, he would work on the weekends sometimes. And it was when you were still working at Stanley also. And
so
it was on the days where you guys would actually work on a Saturday. So he was at work. My dad was at work because there was like it was one of those times where it flooded in La Jolla, kind of. So my dad had to go and like be sucking up all the water and stuff with his crew. And this time it was a double team. It was my dad and then it was Eric's voice. Mm-hmm. And when it was my dad, I heard the knocking. But this time the knocking wasn't like how it was that other time, you know what I mean? It was more like light and like not as like demanding, you know what I mean? But I heard like a small little faint like tick, 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 you know? And I was like, oh, okay. But I think the reason that it wasn't also that loud was because this time the door was locked. You know what I mean?
So it wasn't locked before?
No, the first time it wasn't. But after I heard the third like big ass banging of the knocks, I had quickly locked the door.
And you said you locked
because
all the windows?
Felt like, yeah, all the windows were locked. We locked everything. But this time, like the door was already locked and all the windows were closed because it was that hurricane, you know, so we didn't want like all the muggy air coming in. So we hear it, right? This time my little sister actually did hear it with me. So we hear a little like tick, tick, tick. So, but it sounded like it was on the window, not on the door. And my dad does that. Like, he won't knock on the fucking door because he doesn't want to climb up the stairs.
Even that spirit knows he knocks on the window. That's why I feel like these things are familiar spirits. Mm-hmm. They're always watching you, so they know you.
Yeah, they pick up on your, like, little, you know,
your habits,
mannerisms and stuff.
Yeah.
So we heard tick, tick, tick in the kitchen. And that's normally the window my dad will knock on. If it's not that one, he'll knock on my mom's. So I go to the kitchen. I don't see no one outside. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, maybe it was the tree, because at the time we had a tree still there. And the leaves and the branches would knock on the window sometimes. Or scratch.
You guys got any sugar?
But I go to my mom's room, and my mom's like, hey, did you guys hear that? So she had heard it in her room. So she heard the knocking in her room while we heard it in the kitchen. So there was two at the same time. It was just us three. My sister and her husband were already asleep, and so was my niece.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what do you mean? You heard it in here? She goes, yeah. And this time, not all three of us are in the same room, right? And we hear it again, but a little bit louder. And then we heard, Hilda. Because he'll normally do that to get my mom's attention. And she goes, oh, maybe your dad came home and get something, or maybe he wanted more food. So she goes into the kitchen, and we follow her. And then we heard it even louder in the kitchen. And this time it was Eric's voice. He said, babe, your dad's calling your mom. Get her. And I'm like, mom's with me. We're right here. And he goes, okay. Just like that, like a plain, okay. Like how he does sometimes. You know, you've heard him be like, meh. You know? Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I'm like, you want me to go check or what, mom? And my mom was like, yeah, I'll go see what they want. And I go, I wonder why Eric's here early. Like, it wasn't even, like, the time for y'all to be off work either. So, I'm about to reach for the door to unlock it when I hear a really loud third bang. This time it was the third knocking. And I heard the laugh immediately. And I was just like, okay. But it laughed like Eric. You know how sometimes he'll laugh, like, all crazy? Like, yeah. Like he's wanting to mess with you or whatever. So, I was like, what's so funny? He goes, come on, baby, just open the door.
Yikes.
And that's when I was like, no, I'm not opening the door. And I texted him. I go, hey, babe, what's up? And he's like, I'm not on break yet. I can't talk. Yeah. And that's when I was like, yep, this is not him. This is not Eric. And then my mom called my dad, and because she wanted to see if she would hear his phone ringing outside. She calls him. He's like, I can't talk right now. And he hung up. And that's when we were like, okay. So my mom, like, held my hand, right? Because she knows that I see and feel these things. And my little sister grabbed my other hand, and we said it together, like, hey, you need to leave. Like, you're not welcomed here. Just go. And that was it. We didn't hear it no more. That was the last time. Actually, I think that happened before the one of just Eric. Because when it was just Eric, you weren't at Stanley anymore.
No, I don't like Stanley.
But yeah, it was, I mean, those mimics are terrible. And I've seen like TikTok videos and stuff about that. Like,
I've seen a whole bunch.
There's even some that they don't even need permission to come into your home.
That's what I'm telling you.
Like, if your door's unlocked, they'll try to open it and get in.
Yeah, like you can see the doorknob like moving,
shaking.
Yeah.
Or your door slowly opening. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, it is.
I hate that stuff.
It's very terrible. Scary.
I hate watching those, but I like watching them. It's weird, huh?
And then you go to sleep and you're paranoid that it's like there.
Like, that's why I put like a whole nother thing on before something happy, like, I don't know, whatever.
Like a comedy or something.
Yeah.
I
like,
do that.
I wouldn't forget about this now.
Well, yeah, it was like that time I told you that I was watching a movie. I can't even... What was it? Hotel Transylvania 3? And I told you that I turned around and I saw someone standing in my doorway.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
It wasn't Eric or anybody. I was just like, I'm okay. And I just turned around and went back to sleep.
It's more stories for another time because we can't just give you all the stories. You know, we want you guys to be left on a cliffhanger.
Wanting more.
More. You guys can come back and check out more stories with Kat. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you have a million.
Oh, yeah. A lot more.
I'm pretty sure you have other stories from other relatives.
Yeah, like my dad and stuff.
Like, I'm pretty sure they experienced things and told you things since you're, like, in tune with all this.
Yeah.
So they kind of come to you. Do you have a lot of people come to you?
Well, my dad's told me stories of stuff that happened when he was a kid or teenager, actually. But the thing is, like, my dad can't see any of that. Like, there's people that, you know, are like you and Eric that will one day eventually see something or hear something.
Yeah, I've heard
and then
things.
You're there like, was that real? Like,
yeah.
Did I really hear that? Did I really see that? It's like that. Like, my dad never believed that what he saw and heard was real until my uncle validated his story and said, hey, I saw it and heard it too.
You
know what I mean?
Crap, it was real.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But yeah, I have a lot.
Yes, we'll definitely have you on more often. But that's like what I want to do with this channel. World, people. The YouTube world, I want to like have people like, I guess, tell their stories themselves. Or if you have stories, I can retell them for you the best I can. But it's best when someone tells me directly.
Yeah.
Because you were there.
Because you get the goosebumps.
You get the bumpies and your rumpies. And then stuff like that, of that nature.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's it for now, and we'll see you next time.
Next time.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
We're gonna say Kat and Matt.
Kat and Matt get chicken nuggets. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The very first episode of the Valley of Shadows Paranormal Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed those little stories we had for you. Like we said, we will have her on again. Just make sure to tune in to the Matt and Kat show, apparently. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of these stories. If you have any stories of your own, I'll be sure to reach out to a bunch of you I guess to see how we can get more stories in and whatnot. But I'm mostly trying to focus in my own backyard right now. I've heard that's a good place to start. So I'm probably just going to get a bunch of stories from my area here in deep South Texas, where we got the nachos and the ponchos. Till the next video, my friends, the next scary and spooky adventure. Bye-bye now.